Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 of the best mind-bending horror movies of all time.
In the real world,
and let's get to the list. Titane is a 2023 psychological horror movie. Written and directed by Julia Ducournau, it stars Agathe Roussel, Garion Smillier, and Vincent Linden. Following a series of unexplained crimes, a father is reunited with his son, who has been missing for 10 years. This movie is so wild. It's full of body horror and just one uncomfortable scene after another. It just twists your brain up, and that's kind of the whole point of this list. I picked movies that I think are really just mind-fuck kind of things. Things that cause you to question the reality of the things you're watching, and this movie does that so well. Because there's so many surprising scenes, things that you just can't quite get your head around throughout this entire movie. And you're left at the end almost speechless, just trying to figure out and sort out what you just watched. But this, like a lot of the movies on this list, are not for everyone. But if you like twisted, artsy, weird horror, body horror, then this is one you absolutely need to see.
I want to come home. I am so sorry.
Session 9 is a 2001 psychological horror movie. Directed by Brad Anderson and written by Anderson and Stephen Gavin. It stars David Caruso, Peter Mullen, Josh Lucas, and Brendan Sexton III. Tensions rise within an asbestos cleaning crew as they work in an abandoned mental hospital with a horrific past that seems to be coming back.
Four really good guys. 1 week, we're gone. That's fast. I need the job.
So the loonies are outside in the real world, and here we are with the keys to the loony bin, boys.
So I really got to be careful with this. I don't want to ruin this or spoil it, because this is really a hidden gem. This is a movie that not enough people have seen, and the twist in this is crucial to your enjoyment of it. If it's ruined for you, it just won't have the same impact. But the acting is on point. It's creepy and atmospheric. The location is just so oppressive. It just feels dirty and unhinged. It feels like it's just as much of a character as the cast. But the performance of Peter Mullen is what really shines in this, what makes it an absolute must-see kind of horror movie, because he just gets more and more intense as the movie goes. But this takes a lot of twists and turns and keeps you guessing all the way to the end. This is a tremendous movie that absolutely should be on your list. Mulholland Drive is a 2001 surrealist neo-noir horror thriller. Written and directed by David Lynch, it stars Naomi Watts, Laura Herring, and Justin Theroux. After a car wreck on the winding Mulholland Drive renders a woman amnesiac, causing her and a perky Hollywood hopeful to search for clues and answers across Los Angeles in a twisting venture beyond dreams and reality.
I wonder where you were going. Mulholland Drive. That's where I was going. Mulholland Drive.
So David Lynch is definitely not for everyone. He is a surrealist filmmaker. His stuff is really bizarre and isn't something that you can quite ever get your head around. Because you could ask 5 different people what the meanings of his films are, and you're gonna probably get 5 different answers. Even Twin Peaks, this series, had people baffled and scratching their head. But I love what he does. I love his style. It's very artsy and creative. I just love the ride. I don't have to understand it all to very much appreciate it. And this movie feels like a nightmare. It feels very surrealist, like an absolute dream where reality is pretty much thrown out the window. And so it's up to you to just kind of follow this story, but you also have to know that you probably aren't going to get the answers that you would traditionally. But this movie is sexy, uncomfortable, disturbing, just bizarre. It is horrific at times, and absolutely a thrill ride. But I think it's truly fantastic, and one of the best mind-bending thriller horror movies ever made. The Cell is a 2000 sci-fi psychological horror movie. Directed by Tarsem Singh, it stars Jennifer Lopez, Vince Vaughn, and Vincent D'Onofrio. An FBI agent persuades a social worker to enter the mind of a comatose serial killer who is adept with a new experimental technology in order to learn where he has hidden his latest kidnapped victim. This is such a beautifully done movie. I love the way it looks, the cinematography. It's very artsy and fantastical, but it also has some really dark horror elements to it as well. I mean, Vincent D'Onofrio is absolutely chilling in this movie. The only thing I've seen him do where he's even more twisted is Chained, which I've talked about on this channel before, but that guy can act scary as well as anyone in the business. I mean, he just gives me chills when he plays these horrific characters. But the visuals is what makes this movie amazing. It just takes you into this wild dream state where reality is twisted and warped, and it just makes you uncomfortable, but also it's just gorgeous. It really is a beautifully shot movie with imagery that's both gruesome and gory and dark, as well as just gorgeous. This is a movie that's really been forgotten by time in a lot of ways, and it's really a travesty because I think it's a wonderful film that really does deserve more attention than it gets. But if you've never seen this, I think you should hunt it down and give it a look. Dark City is a 1998 neo-noir sci-fi horror movie, directed by Alex Proyas and written by Proyas, David S. Goyer, and Lim Dobbs. It stars Rufus Sewell, William Hurt, and Kiefer Sutherland. A man struggles with memories of his past, which include a wife he cannot remember and a nightmarish world no one else seems to wake up from. So not only is this one of my favorite mind-bending horror movies, this is one of my favorite movies, period. This is just an incredible film. I love the look and style. It's dark and creepy and unnerving. And the thing is, this movie was kind of overshadowed by The Matrix, and The Matrix just exploded. But this was actually released before The Matrix. So a lot of people talk about like this is ripping The Matrix off. If anything, it would be the other way around. But they were both basically being created around the same time, so I don't really think there was any of that going on either direction, but it's so twisted and uncomfortable throughout. It's the kind of movie that just burrows in your brain and twists you all over the place because it just keeps you guessing all the way throughout. It's like you never really know what's going on. Even at the end, it'll cause you to just continue to ponder and think about long after. But Rufus Sewell is fantastic in this role. Kiefer Sutherland knocks it out of the park with this really eerie, creepy character. It's just got a lot to it. The visuals alone make it worth seeing, but it also has a great story with a lot of this whodunit neo-noir crime mystery kind of feel to it as well. But I just can't rave about this movie enough. I absolutely love it. It's a movie that I highly, highly, highly recommend.
You're crazy!
Only demons should fear me. You're not a demon, are you?
Frailty is a 2001 Southern Gothic psychological horror movie. Directed and starring Bill Paxton, it also stars Matthew McConaughey and Powers Booth. A mysterious man arrives at the office of an FBI agent and recounts his childhood, how his religious fanatic father received visions telling him to destroy people, who were in fact demons.
Wake up, I've got something to tell you.
What's wrong?
There are demons among us. I can see the demons. while other people can.
I'm scared, Dad.
Nothing that crazy could be real.
So I remember seeing this at a test screening long before it was released into theaters, and I've loved it ever since. It's so uncomfortable, so disturbing, so creepy. It just is heart pounding, but it keeps you in this state of just uneasiness the entire time. Beyond that, it's mysterious. There's a lot of mystery to it. And it's so well directed by Bill Paxton. He's just incredible acting in this, but he was just as good behind the camera as a director. And he is sorely missed because he was one talented man. But this is one of those movies that just not enough people talk about. It is kind of a hidden gem, but when you do hear people talk about it and you're a fan of this, you get just so excited because this is truly a treasure. Because beyond Bill Paxton, Matthew McConaughey is incredible, Powers Booth is extremely good, like just the whole cast just comes together with this chilling, heart-pounding story. But it'll twist your head up in so many ways, and in my opinion, this is an absolute classic and one that every fan of horror should see.
I know this book will drive people crazy. Let's hope so. The movie comes out next month.
In the Mouth of Madness is a 1994 supernatural horror movie. Directed and scored by John Carpenter, it stars Sam Neill, Julie Carmen, and Jorgen Prichnow. It tells the story of John Trent, an insurance investigator who visits a small town while looking into the disappearance of a successful author and begins to question his sanity as the lines between reality and fiction blur.
You can forget about Stephen King. Kane outsells them all. I need to know if he's alive or dead, and I need that book.
So if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know this is one of my favorites. I talk about it every chance I get, but it's just an incredible movie. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. It's right up there with The Thing for me personally. I just think it's a perfect kind of movie, that perfect mind-bending, twisted kind of film. I remember back when I rented it from Hollywood Video back in the day, and it just twisted my mind in so many ways. It just stuck with me. I remember it just haunting my nightmares. It has this strong sense of being trapped that really stuck with me, where you're just like this hamster in a hamster wheel that you can't get out. You know, those nightmares where you just feel exhausted from, where you feel like nothing you do makes a difference. This movie captures that feeling just so well. But the visuals are creative and just dark and twisted, but in the most fun way. And it's one of those movies that really holds up to this day, because every time I watch it, it just still feels fresh and impactful. And especially for someone like me who watches so much horror, to watch a movie like this that you know the outcome of, and yet it still has an impact, that says something. So to me, when I was putting together this list, this was a real no-brainer. Cabin in the Woods is a 2011 sci-fi horror movie, directed by Drew Goddard and written by Goddard and Josh Whedon. It stars Kristen Connolly, Chris Hemsworth, and Anna Hutchinson. 5 friends go on holiday to a remote cabin, where they get more than they bargained for, and discover the truth behind the cabin in the woods.
We're looking for, what's it called?
Tillerman Road.
To get you there, getting back. That's your concern.
This is awesome.
This is another one of my favorites. I just adore this movie. It's so much fun. I'll never forget going in and seeing this pretty much blind. I hadn't seen, I don't even remember if I had seen a trailer, but I remember not knowing much of anything about this. And even if you had seen a trailer, there's a lot of layers to this. It goes in so many directions and just twists and turns, and it's such a unique premise, such a unique movie, and so entertaining. It's listed as a comedy, but I never call it that. To me, it's kind of like Scream. I don't really think of it as a comedy. It's more of a horror movie that has comedic elements to it. And this movie is really funny. I mean, I'm not saying it's not super funny, but it's also gory and graphic and creepy with some scary scenes. I mean, it also is still very horror. So to me, it doesn't feel like it's a comedy. But there's just so many surprising, shocking moments. But I can't talk about them here because I don't want to spoil it for the few of you out there that have not seen this. Because this movie cannot be spoiled. So if you're someone out there, maybe new to horror or just for whatever reason have never seen this, do yourself a favor and make this the next thing that you watch.
I have all the characteristics of a human being, but not a single clear, identifiable emotion. I simply am not there.
American Psycho is a 2000 satirical psychological horror movie, directed by Mary Herron and based on the 1991 novel of the same name by Bret Easton Ellis. It stars Christian Bale, Jared Leto, and William Dafoe. A wealthy New York City investment banking executive hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his coworkers and friends and delves deeper into his violent, hedonistic fantasies.
Sabrina, why don't you dance a little? Christy, get down on your knees. We're not through yet.
I mean, come on. Who out there is a horror fan and hasn't seen this movie yet? I mean, it's just so iconic. Patrick Bateman is just horror icon character status. I just think he's phenomenal because this movie is both twisted and uncomfortable as it is funny as hell. There are so many scenes, like stuff with Jared Leto's character. It just has me on the floor. Every time I see this movie, it still gets me. Just the performance of Christian Bale, he's just so good in it. The way he delivers these lines, the way he has this hollow, empty persona in it. It's like you could see right through that facade, that mask, and it makes it just so haunting when you watch him. But this film does as good of a job as any you'll see at making you feel like you're just delving into the mind of a psychopath, because it's so twisted and it causes you to just question everything all the way up into the end of this, where you're never quite sure what you're seeing and if it's a delusion of him or if it's things that are actually happening. It's just a fun ride and one of my favorites, especially if I'm talking about mind-bending horror movies. Audition is a 1999 Japanese psychological horror movie. Directed by Takashi Miike, it stars Ryu Ishibashi and Ihi Shina. A widower takes an offer to screen girls at a special audition, arranged for him by a friend to find a new wife. But the one who he fancies is not who she appears to be after all. This is such a good movie. It's so disturbing and thrilling, keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it's uncomfortable. It definitely keeps you guessing throughout. Because for anyone who hasn't seen this movie, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a pretty big twist in this, and it dramatically changes the movie. It just changes what you think is happening with some really interesting visuals and situations that play out. Some pretty disturbing visuals too. I mean, there's some scenes in this, you know, kitty, 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 that will definitely just make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. But I think this is a brilliant mind bender and one of the best of all time. But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week, I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean the entire world to me. And if you would like to help support this channel, help keep the lights on around here, over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member and get that little cool eye icon, there's a button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch my most recent Prime Video recommendation list. And I'll see you guys next time.